I'm about to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. You're probably thinking about money completely backwards. Here's what I mean. Right now, there are two people in the exact same job, making the exact same salary. Fast forward 20 years, and one of them has built genuine wealth while the other is still living paycheck to paycheck. Same income, completely different outcomes, and here's the part that bothers most people. It has almost nothing to do with how hard they worked. It has everything to do with how they thought. Stay with me here, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to break down the exact mental frameworks that separate wealth builders from everyone else. And I promise you, it's not what the finance gurus are telling you. Look, I get it. You've probably watched 100 videos about budgeting, side hustles, and investing. But nobody talks about the operating system running in the background, the mindset that determines whether any of that actually works. Because here's the truth, you can have all the strategies in the world, but if your mental framework around money is broken, you'll sabotage yourself every single time. So let's fix that operating system. Section 1. The Delayed Gratification Paradox. Let's start with the most misunderstood concept in wealth building, delayed gratification. Everyone talks about the marshmallow test, right? Kids who could wait for 2 marshmallows instead of eating one immediately did better in life. But here's what they don't tell you, the real skill wasn't just waiting, it was believing the second marshmallow would actually come. Think about that for a second. Poor financial decisions aren't always about lacking discipline. Sometimes they're completely rational responses to environments where delayed gratification has never paid off. If every time you've saved money, an emergency has wiped it out, why would you save? The wealthy mindset isn't just about delaying gratification. It's about creating systems where delayed gratification actually delivers. This is why wealthy people obsess over making their future selves trustworthy. Here's what this looks like practically. When you get a bonus or a windfall, the average person immediately thinks about what they can buy today. Someone with a wealth-building mindset asks a different question. How can I make this money create more opportunities for my future self? They're not just delaying the purchase. They're literally sending resources through time to a version of themselves who will have more options, more freedom, and more leverage. That's a completely different mental model, and here's the key, they've set up their life so that future self actually gets those benefits. Their investments actually grow. Their skills actually compound. The delayed gratification pays off, which reinforces the behavior. Section 2, Anti-Fragile Financial Psychology. Now let's talk about something nobody mentions. Wealthy people have an anti-fragile relationship with money. You know what fragile is, obviously. It breaks under stress. Robust is better, it resists stress and stays the same. But anti-fragile is different. It actually gets stronger from stress and volatility. Here's how this shows up in mindset. When markets crash, when unexpected expenses hit, when income drops, most people's financial psychology gets weaker. They panic, make emotional decisions, abandon their plans. But people who build lasting wealth, these events make their mindset stronger. Not because they enjoy the pain, but because they've trained themselves to see volatility as opportunity. I'll give you a concrete example. In 2008, when the housing market collapsed, millions of people watched their home values plummet and felt helpless. But a certain group of people started studying foreclosure auctions, learning about real estate law, positioning themselves to buy when everyone else was selling in fear. Same event. Completely different mental response. The wealth-building mindset treats financial setbacks like a video game boss fight. Sure, you might lose the first time, but you're gathering information. You're learning the patterns. You're getting stronger. This is why wealthy people often say things like that failed business taught me everything I needed to know, or losing that money was the best thing that happened to me. They've developed a psychology that extracts value from negative events. But here's the critical part. This isn't toxic positivity or pretending everything is fine. It's a genuine reframe where you're actively looking for the leverage hidden in the setback. What did this teach me? What opportunity does this create? How does this make me more capable? Most people avoid financial stress at all costs. Wealth builders deliberately expose themselves to small, controlled doses of it because they know it's building their psychological resilience. Section 3, the asset lens. Here's where it gets really interesting. Wealthy people literally see the world differently. They've developed what I call the asset lens. Walk down a street with someone who has a scarcity mindset and someone with a wealth-building mindset, and they're looking at two different realities. The scarcity person sees buildings, traffic, stores. The wealth builder sees cash flows, undervalued properties, inefficient systems that could be optimized, problems that could be solved for profit. This isn't about being cold or transactional. It's about pattern recognition. They've trained their brain to automatically spot assets and opportunities. Let me show you how this works with something simple: your skills. Most people think I'm good at design or I'm good at writing. That's a skill perspective. Someone with the asset lens thinks I have a capability that can solve specific problems for specific people who will pay specific amounts. See the difference? One is static, the other is dynamic and connected to value creation. Or take relationships. The average person thinks about friends and connections socially. The wealth builder also values genuine relationships, but they can't help but notice the network effects, the collaborative opportunities, the ways aligned people can create value together that none could create alone. This is why wealthy people are always connecting people. They see the potential value in combinations. They're running simulations in their head about what becomes possible when the right elements come together. But here's what's crucial: this lens can be developed. You're not born with it. You train it by constantly asking, what's the asset here? What's the system? What's the compounding mechanism? Someone cuts you off in traffic. Scarcity mindset gets angry. Asset lens thinks, interesting, I just had a cortisol spike over something that has zero impact on my life. I should work on that emotional regulation because it's costing me energy. Even the frustration becomes data for self-improvement. Section 4, Playing Infinite Games. Now we get to the deepest level. The ultimate wealth-building mindset is understanding the difference between finite and infinite games. A finite game has fixed rules, known players, and a clear ending where someone wins. Think of chess, or football, or most jobs. An infinite game has changing rules, known and unknown players, and the goal isn't to win but to keep playing. Most people are trying to win finite games. Get the promotion. Buy the house. Hit the savings target. And then what? The game ends and they have to find a new game. Wealth builders are playing an infinite game. They're not trying to reach a finish line where they win at money. They're building systems that can play forever, that get more interesting over time, that create more options rather than fewer. This changes everything about how they make decisions. They're not optimizing for the next quarter or the next year. They're asking, what choice makes the game more interesting 10 years from now? What keeps more doors open? What builds more capability? This is why truly wealthy people often seem less stressed about money than people aggressively chasing wealth. They're not in a race. They're in an evolving game they find genuinely interesting. Here's a test. When you think about your financial goals, do they have an endpoint? Like, I want $1 million or I want to retire at 50? Those are finite game objectives. Infinite game thinking sounds more like, I want to build systems that create value and give me freedom to explore what's interesting, or I want to develop capabilities that let me participate in opportunities I can't even imagine yet. The finite player is trying to accumulate enough to stop playing. The infinite player is building capacity to keep playing more interesting games. Section 5, the implementation. So how do you actually build this mindset? Because knowledge without implementation is just entertainment. First, start tracking your opportunity cost thinking. Every time you spend money or time, ask yourself what you're choosing not to do. Not to torture yourself, but to build awareness of trade-offs. Wealthy people are constantly aware that every yes is a no to something else. Second, deliberately practice long-term thinking. Pick one decision per week and force yourself to consider the 5-year consequences. Your brain will resist this. It's not natural. Do it anyway. This is how you build the mental muscle. Third, create asymmetric exposure. Put yourself in situations where you have limited downside but unlimited upside. Take courses, have conversations, start small projects where the worst case is you waste a little time but the best case changes your trajectory. Wealthy people actively engineer these situations. And finally, here's the most important one: change who you're comparing yourself to. Stop comparing to people at your exact level. Instead, study people 2 or 3 levels above where you want to be, not to feel inadequate, but to understand how they think differently. Look, building wealth isn't really about money. Money is just the scoreboard. It's about developing a way of thinking that sees opportunities, creates value, manages risk, and plays long games. The beautiful thing? Unlike talent or luck or connections, mindset is completely within your control. You can literally decide to think differently starting today. Will it feel natural immediately? No. Will you mess up? Absolutely. But 6 months of deliberately practicing these mental frameworks will change your financial trajectory more than 6 years of hustling with the wrong operating system. The wealth-building mindset isn't a secret. It's just a different way of seeing the world. And now you know what to look for. If this clicked for you, let me know in the comments which concept hit hardest. And if you want more breakdowns like this that go beyond the surface level advice, subscribe because that's exactly what we do here. Now go build something.